Now, as we examine the story, the parable, one of the ways that a parable is to be interpreted by us is that we try and find ourselves to some degree in the story. Which character am I like? Which character am I unlike? Who do I relate to and how? So before I ask you if you're like the widow, I need to ask you, how are you like the judge? See, because my fear is this: we're a culture of victims. We love to be victims. It tends to put us in a position where we have power and people owe us. And the result is we tend to see others sin against us more clearly and quickly than we see our sin against others. Now, the truth is, we're sinned against, and we're victims like the widow. But we're also sinners like the judge. And we too have victims. And so I want you to think, in hearing this story, what people, for what reasons, would think that you remind them of the judge. How are you like the judge? Number one, do you truly fear God? Do you respect God, revere God, honor God, obey God, submit to God, follow God? Or are you like the judge, saying, God does not weigh heavily in my life. God does not factor heavily in my decision making. Who God is, what God does in this book, what God says, not really important to me. Maybe you think there is no God, or that God necessarily owes you, or that when you die you will not stand before God, that there is no heaven, there is no hell, there is no consequence, there is no judgment, or you're better than most people and it'll all work itself out in the end. All of that is no fear of God, no respect of God, no regard of God. Are you like that? That's where all of his trouble began. Number two, do you truly care for people? Really care for people? Not just in theory, but in practice. He sees this woman in need, suffering, injustice. He does nothing. He says nothing. He's in a position that he could serve her. He could bring her justice. He could alleviate the complicated variable in her life. He doesn't. His is a sin of omission. Now, someone has sinned against her. It's a sin of commission. Someone's done something wrong. And the judge's sin is a sin of omission. He could render a verdict and bring justice, and he doesn't. Who could you be helping? And you're not. Who could you be serving? And you're not. Who could you be defending? And you're not. You may say, well, I didn't do the bad thing. Perhaps you did, perhaps you didn't. But if you don't do anything, that's a bad thing. We can't just have a value of compassion, empathy, love, mercy, respect, and generosity. We have to have a lifestyle that actually embodies, demonstrates those stated values. So if we looked at your schedule, does it reveal a real care for people? If we looked at your budget, does it reveal a real care for people? Or are you like the typical person today who has an attitude of compassion, but not a lifestyle of compassion? And by definition, that's hypocrisy. So I really care about people. Well, who are you helping? Well, I love them in my heart. Well, great. Open up your wallet, open up your mouth, get your hands dirty. Love is what you do, right? Love is what you do.